In the deep corner of space, on a dark and dusty planet called Vagos, there was a market. But this was not a market for food or clothes. This was a slave market. Aliens from many planets were kept inside glass cages. Some had tails, some had wings. Some were small like children. Some were tall like giants, and one was very different. She had silver blue skin, soft white hair, and glowing violet eyes. She looked like a dream, a beautiful one, or maybe a sad one. Her name was not written anywhere, only a number on her collar, F-6. She sat quietly in the corner of her cage, not moving, not talking. People passed by, looked at her, pointed fingers, laughed, made offers to rent her for fun, for parties, for worse things. She never looked up. She was just an alien girl, rented again and again. No one asked her name. No one cared. Until one man came. He wore a long black coat. His face was half covered with a mask. His eyes were human brown, calm and full of questions. He didn't walk fast. He didn't laugh like the others. He stopped in front of her cage and he looked. For a long time, the alien girl, F6, felt something strange. He wasn't staring like the others. He looked at her face, like he was trying to understand her. She looked up just for a second. Their eyes met. She expected the usual reaction, hunger, power, or cruel smiles. But this man just looked sad. He didn't say anything. He didn't press the screen. He didn't rent her. He just walked away. The next day she waited. No one came. She was cold, hungry, her body hurt. Her eyes were heavy. She had no dreams left. Then suddenly the glass door opened. A loud beep. A robot voice said, "Unit F6 has been purchased. Prepare for transfer." She didn't move. Two machines pulled her out. They locked her hands and legs. They placed a cover over her eyes. Then everything went dark. She woke up later, not in a cage, but inside a soft bed. The air smelled clean. There was no noise, no laughing people, no flashing lights, just silence. She sat up fast, heart racing. "Don't be afraid," a voice said. It was the man in black. He stood near the door, his hands up showing no weapons. "I'm not here to hurt you. You're free now." She didn't believe him. No one ever said those words. Free? What does that mean? She jumped up, tried to run, but her legs were weak. She hit the wall and fell. He came forward slowly, placed a blanket on her shoulders. "You're safe," he said again. "You're not property anymore. I bought your contract," and deleted it. She stared at him like he was lying, like it was another game, another trick. "Why?" she asked, voice rough and dry. He paused. "Because you looked human. Not like your face, but your eyes, your silence, your pain." She looked away. Her throat tightened. She had never cried before, not once, not even when they hurt her. "Do you have a name?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, just F6. He smiled softly. "That's not a name. That's a prison." He looked up, thinking, "Would you like a name?" She blinked. "A name? I don't know." "Well," he said, walking to the door, "we'll think of one together." And he left the room, leaving her alone with warmth, silence, and for the first time, hope. That night, she stayed awake, staring at the soft lights on the ceiling. She was still afraid, still confused, but deep inside her heart, a question was born. What if he's telling the truth? She didn't know who he was. She didn't know where she was. But one thing was clear. For the first time in her life, someone looked at her and didn't see a thing to rent. He saw a person. The ship moved through silent space inside the small living chamber. The lights were soft and the air smelled clean like rain. She sat in the corner, knees close to her chest, eyes fixed on the strange soft floor. This was not her cage. There was no glass, no cold metal, no wires in her skin. She was wearing new clothes, not chains, a white robe, soft and warm like clouds. She did not understand anything. He had bought her, but not for rent, not for show, not like the others. This man had taken her from the slave port and brought her here, and now he said she was free. She did not believe him. Humans do not buy to give. They buy to on. So she waited. She stayed quiet. She watched, and he left her alone. He cooked food in the other room. Sometimes she could smell spices, sweet things, bitter things, warm bread, something called tea. He placed plates near the door and never stepped closer. He said nothing else, just looked at her and left the food. She never said thank you, but she ate everything, and for the first time in years her stomach didn't hurt him. The third day he entered the room holding a small book. He placed it on the table gently and spoke. "For the first time you can read," he said. She looked at him, her voice small and dry. "Yes, a little then." "This is for you," he said. "Not orders, not rules, not training, just stories." She picked up the book and opened it. The first line said, "Once there was a girl with no name and no voice, but a heart full of light." She closed the book and her fingers trembled. That night she dreamed of wind and stars and something else. Yeah, name. She woke up early. He was sitting in the control seat looking out into the stars. She walked slowly toward him, her hands behind her back. "Why did you buy me?" she asked. He turned and his eyes were convicted. "You looked like someone who deserved better." She shook her head. "You could have taken me, rented me, sold me again, but you didn't." Why? I stood and faced her fully now because I was tired of seeing people broken. I wanted to fix at least one. Her voice was quiet. "What if I'm too broken to fix?" He smiled, but there was sadness behind it. "Then I'll help you be something new." They traveled through space for days. No one followed them. No alarms, no bounty, no empire ship, just Stars moving slowly outside the glass windows. She began to speak more. She asked questions about food and planets and music and stories. He answered every question like it mattered. He never touched her, never looked at her like the others used to. He always kept distance, but never coldness. He gave warmth like the sun gives light without burning. One night, while they sat near the table eating together, she looked up and said, "Do you think I was made?" He looked confused. "What do you mean, like built, not born, like made in a lab or something?" He thought for a while. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe you were made, maybe you were born, but either way you are real. Feel, you think, you dream." That's enough. She felt something inside her crack. A wall, maybe a voice, whispered in her heart, "He's not lying, he's not like them." She looked at him and said, "If I wanted a name, what would you call me?" He leaned back and looked at her with quiet thought. "Hey, name is a gift," he said, "so let me ask you first, what do you feel like when you look at the stars?" She paused, then answered, "Like I'm not nothing." He nodded. "Then you are not nothing. You are light, you are free, you are something." He opened a screen and typed a name. It appeared glowing on the wall. Liat. Read it softly. Liat. Felt right. It felt small and beautiful and full of meanings. "That me?" She asked. "Yes," he said, "if you want it." She nodded. "You sighed. Do later." She sat alone with the name, repeating in her mind like a song. She was no longer F-6. She was not a product, not a thing, not a toy. She was a person with a name, with a place, maybe not forever, but for now it was real, and real was enough. The stars outside moved slowly like they were watching from a distance. Inside the ship, silence lived like an old friend, soft and gentle. Aya stood in front of the mirror, not sure what to think. Her hair was still white, her eyes still glowing violet, her skin still silver blue, but something was different. She had a name now. She had a room with a real bed, soft clothes, and no change. She had someone who spoke to her, not like a machine, but like a human speaks to another human. She had time, she had space, but she did not know what to do with it. In the morning she found him in the control room again, sitting with a cup in his hand, watching the stars like they were old memories. He did not turn when she entered. He only said one word, "Morning." She sat near him, quiet for a while, then asked, "What day is?" I smiled without looking. "There are no days in space, just time and choices." She nodded, not fully understanding, but it felt truth. They sat like that for a long while, without pressure, without noise, like time was not chasing them anymore. Later she walked through the ship alone. She touched the walls, the doors, the lights. She opened drawers and found tools and maps and small pieces of paper with strange drawings. Every step felt like she was waking from a long cold sleep. She stopped in front of a door she had not opened before. Inside was a small room filled with books stacked in tall, quiet towers. She picked one, opened it, and ran her fingers over the pages. The words felt soft in her mind like music. Without sound she sat and began to read. She did not stop for hours. That evening she brought the book to him and asked, "What is this story about?" He looked at the cover, then said, "It is about a boy who lost everything and found home in a place he never expected." She looked at him, eyes wide. "Is that why you have?" I nodded. "Once everyone needs a story that gives them hope." Days passed. She learned how to make tea. She learned how to fix a loose wire. She learned the names of the planets they passed and how to read the glowing star maps. She even learned how to laugh. It was strange at first, like something her body did not remember, but it came back slowly, like light returning to a dark room. He laughed with her, not loud, not wild, just soft like waves on a quiet ocean. They shared stories. Sometimes hers were short and broken, but he listened like they were gold. He never asked for more than she gave. Never asked for more than she gave. Never made her feel less than alive. One night she asked him, "Do you miss Earth?" He looked out the window before speaking. "I miss the idea of it more than the place itself." She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" He said, "Earth was home once, but now it feels like a place that forgot how to care." She said nothing, but her heart understood that feeling. She too had come from somewhere she could never return to. Another day she found an old recording device buried in one of the drawers. She fixed it carefully using the tools he had shown her. Then she pressed the red button and spoke softly into it. "My name is Liad. Was once just a thing in a cage. Now I am someone, maybe not strong, maybe not fearless, but someone who can feel and speak and choose." She saved the recording but never showed it to Haim. It was hers, a piece of her becoming. They were flying past a quiet moon when she heard him call her name from the control room. She ran fast, heart beating for no reason except that it could. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a blinking screen. Message. She read it, and her hands turned cold. They were being tracked, not by pirates, not by rebels, by the Empire. She stepped back, fear rising in her throat. "I thought you deleted my contract," she whispered. "I did," he said, "but some contracts I copied, some buyers keep shadows just in case." She looked at him with wide eyes. "What happens now?" He turned off the message and stood tall. "Now we stay ahead of them." She wanted to scream, but she stayed quiet. The fear was still in her body, but something else was there. A thought, a small bright thought that whispered, "Am more than a number. They can chase me, but I am not theirs. I am Liar, am alive." That night she stood at the window of the ship watching the stars. Her heart was beating, not from fear, but from knowing she was not the same girl they once rented. She was learning how to live, and no one could take that away. Now the silence in space is not always peace. Sometimes silence hides danger waiting just behind the stars. Leah sat in the ship's small kitchen holding a warm cup in both hands, watching the steam rise like soft clouds in a stormless sky. She had learned how to cook simple things, learned how to sleep without fear, learned how to smile without hiding it. But some nights the past still found her even in dreams. Some nights she woke up breathing fast as if the chains were still there. And now something new had returned to her. A message blinking on a screen. A warning, they are coming. He checked the systems again, scanned the ship for hidden signals, searched every wire, every circuit. The tracking was real, not from their side, from hers, buried deep inside her arm, near the shoulder. Hidden like a scar no one sees but always feels. It was a tag, a signal from her past, a whisper to the Empire. We found Hershey watched him as he worked, hands moving fast, eyes focused. He was not angry, only quiet. She spoke with fear in her voice. You should leave me somewhere they won't find you. He looked at her like she had said something wrong. I did not bring you this far to throw you away. You are not something to hide. You are someone to protect. She looked away, afraid of what that meant. By morning, the alarm spoke in its flat metal voice. Unknown ship approaching. He rushed to the control seat, pulling up the feed. It was black and silver, no flags, no name, no signal, but he knew the design. Empire contract vessel class E. No sound came from Leonie. Her hands tightened around the edge of the chair. He stood up, turned to her and said one word: run. They moved quickly through narrow halls as red lights began to flash. The ship shook once, then again. Something hit the side like a fist against glass. He opened a hidden panel in the floor, told her to get inside. It is a smuggler hole, lead lined. They will not see you. She refused. I am not hiding while you fight. He gave a small, hard smile. You are not hiding, you are surviving. That is what people do when they want to live free. She looked at him long and deep, as if trying to remember everything about his face. Then she climbed inside and the panel closed. The ship cracked again. Louder this time, metal groaned, air hummed with power. The door blew open, and men in dark armor stepped in, rifles raised, masks glowing red. He stood still, hands up. Come, you have no authority here, he said. One soldier replied with a voice like broken glass. We do not need authority when we are cleaning up property. She is not property. She is not yours. She belongs to the Empire by contract. That contract is gone. It cannot be deleted. Everything can be deleted. The soldiers moved forward, but he was faster. He rolled, grabbed a tool from the wall, and used it like a weapon, swinging low, hitting hard. One soldier dropped, the others fired. He was hit in the side but stayed on his feet. He blocked the hallway, gave no space. He was not a soldier, not a hero, not trained for war, but he was enough to give her a chance inside the smuggler hole. Leah heard the blasts, smelled the burn of wires, saw the light flicker from cracks in the panel, and then something inside her woke. UPA heat, not from fear but from something else, something older. She pushed the panel open, crawled out and ran barefoot across the shaking floor. She found him bleeding on the ground, breath shallow, eyes still burning. 3 soldiers down, one still standing, gun pointed at her. She did not stop. She raised her hands not to block but to reach. The air around her changed. The lights dimmed. The ship shook, not from outside but from within them. Soldiers stepped back, unsure. She screamed without sound, and a pulse of light burst from her body like a wave made of memory and fire. The last soldier fell unconscious before hitting the floor. She dropped to her knees beside the man, his hand reaching for hers. You are not just someone, he whispered. You are something powerful. She held him close, pressing her head to his chest, feeling the weak beat still there, still holding on. Do not leave, she said. No, not after everything. He smiled faintly. I am not leaving yet. Not if you still need me. Do, she whispered. 2 hours later they sat together in silence, wrapped in bandages and blankets. The ship was damaged but still Yank. She held his hand tightly. He asked softly, how did you do that? She shook her head. I do not know. I just wanted to protect you. Maybe that was enough. He nodded slowly. Maybe it was. She looked out the window at the stars. They will come again, she said. Yes, he replied, but next time we will be ready. She did not speak after that. She just sat there, level-away, canned, no longer afraid to be both. The stars outside had changed. They passed slowly through a quieter part of space, far from the Empire's grip, where no signals reached and no contracts followed. Leia stood near the observation window, watching the void stretch like an endless ocean. And for the first time she felt like a part of it, not just something lost inside it. She thought about the blast, the wave of energy that had come from inside her. She had never been trained, never been told she had power, and yet it had saved him. It had stopped the soldiers, had come from her like a storm born in silence. She was afraid of it but also curious. Who was she really? The man had healed slowly. His side was wrapped in fresh bandages and he moved with care, but his voice was still steady, and his eyes were still watching the stars like they carried answers. He found her in the engine room, sitting on the floor with her knees to her chest, eyes focused on the wall as if it might speak. He sat beside her without saying a word. After a moment, she asked, did you know I could do that? He shook his head. No, but I knew you were different. Different how? Not just from humans, from the others. You were quiet but never hollow. There was something full inside you, and now it wants to be seen. They decided to search for help, not from fighters or smugglers but from minds that understood machines and biology and things the Empire tried to bury. He sent a signal to an old friend, a scientist who owed him a favor. They met 3 days later on a hidden station, floating above a cold green moon. The scientist was an old woman with silver eyes and sharp fingers, always moving like they were thinking faster than her mouth. She took one look at Leah and said, she is not standard, not lab-grown, not civilian wear. Did you find her? He answered simply. In a cage. The scientist nodded without surprise. That is where they hide their secrets. Leia lay on the table while the machines scanned her body with soft lights and gentle pulses. The room was quiet except for the hum of the scanner. Then a sound came from the screen, a chime that meant discovery. The scientist leaned in, closed eyes. Narrow. Wing, you are not what they told you. Your body was designed, yes, but not for labor, not for pleasure. You are part of something older. Clone, but not just a copy. A royal design. Leia sat up slowly, confusion rising in her throat. The scientists pulled up a star map and pointed to a system with no name, only numbers. Long ago, there was a family that ruled through thought, not war. They were not just leaders, they were keys to something greater. You carry their code in your cells, in your bones, in your mind. You are the last of their kind. Leia could not breathe. She felt like the floor had vanished and the stars were pulling her into their truth. All this time she thought she was built to be used. All this time she believed she had no past, only a cage. But now she knew she was a secret. The Empire feared she was not a mistake, she was a threat. The man stayed quiet as they left the lab. He walked beside her with slow steps, letting her thoughts move without rushing. She looked at him finally and asked, "Do you believe her?" He nodded. "I do. Everything about you says more than what they told you. You are not an accident. You are a purpose. They tried to erase." She felt her hands shaking. "What do I do now?" "They will never stop hunting me." He looked straight ahead. "Then we stop ruining. We find the place they want to keep hidden, the system where your code belongs. We learn the truth and then we decide who you want to be." That night Leia stood in her room, looking at her reflection again. Her face had not changed. Her eyes still glowed with soft violet light, but now she could see something behind them. Not sadness, but legacy. She whispered to herself, "I was not made to be silent. I was not made to be salty. Was made to unlock something, and I will find out what that means." She sat at the console beside him as the coordinates loaded. The system was far dangerous and marked, but they were not afraid, not anymore. As the ship moved forward, she reached for his hand and held it tight. "Whatever happens next," she said, "I do not want to face it alone." "You will not," he replied without hesitation. "You never will." They did not speak again. They only watched as the stars bent around them. Two souls no longer lost but chosen. The ship moved like a whisper through dark space, its trail hidden behind cloaking waves and silent engines. Inside the small living quarters, the light was low, the air still and soft like breath before a storm. Leia sat near the edge of the bed, tracing patterns in the fabric with her finger, thinking about the scientist's words. Royal clone bloodline, Keitha, last of her kind. Her mind swirled with questions, none of them small, none of them safe. She could feel something deep inside her shifting, something old waking, but stronger than the fear, stronger than the power was the presence of the man sitting across from her, watching without pushing, waiting without judgment. He had not changed since the beginning. Still calm, still quiet, still offering space instead of commands, and because of that something had changed inside her. She no longer felt like a guest on this ship. She felt like a part of it. She felt like a part of him. She looked at him now, really looked. He had scars across his arm, burn marks along his side, hands rough from work, not war. He was not a soldier, not a prince, not someone from the stories and the books he gave her, but he had done what none of them had ever done. He had seen her, not the glow, not the skin, not the name or number, her hand. Somehow that made her stronger than anything the Empire had tried to design. He handed her a piece of paper folded in half, worn at the edges. She opened it carefully. It was a drawing done by hand, lines clean and simple. Two figures standing beneath stars, one silver, one human, holding hands facing the unknown. She looked up and whispered, "Did you draw this?" He nodded once. "A long time ago, before I met you, I saw it in a dream." She held the paper close. "It feels real. Now it is real," he said. "Diff, you wanted to bait." He next day brought fire, not peace. They reached the edge of the hidden system, coordinates loaded into the drive, star maps blinking with warnings. Known ships were waiting just outside the entry field. Black vessels with no symbols, hovering like shadows ready to swallow light. The Empire had arrived before them, waiting, watching, wanting her. Shia stood at the control panel, watching the enemy ship's pulse with silent threats. Her voice came steady, without fear. "They know who I am. They always knew." He turned to her, his face hard with anger, not at her, but at the hands that had shaped this moment. "They want to use you," he said, "to unlock the wormhole, to reach systems untouched by war, untouched by rules. You are the key, and they do not care if the lock breaks." She stepped forward, her voice firm. "Then they will learn that keys can also close doors before they could plan." The message came through. A voice filled the ship, deep and cold, without mercy. "Return the asset or the human dies." She felt her knees weaken, but she stayed standing. The asset, that word again like metal inside her skin. They did not see a person, they saw a tool. She looked at the man who had never once called her, that never once treated her like a product, and in that moment her choice became clear. She turned toward the door without a word and walked to the exit bay. He followed fast, pulling her back. "What are you doing? You cannot go to them." She placed her hand gently on his chest. "If I do not, they will destroy everything we found, everything we could. They will go, but not alone." They stepped into the drop vessel, a small craft meant for surface landings, now carrying something far greater. As they approached the Empire ship, she could feel it again, the hum in her chest, the pulse in her spine. Her blood remembered, her mind cleared. She was not afraid. They landed in silence. Guards surrounded them, weapons raised, masks glowing. She walked forward slowly, hands raised, her voice steady. "Let him Go, I am here. You have me. The commander stepped out from the shadows, tall armored eyes. Hidden, you belong to your shade. Looked straight at him without blinking. No, I never did. You just thought you owned what you never understood. In the corner of the bay, another figure moved fast, a flash of dark cloth and fire. He had followed her into the ship, and now he moved like wind through steel, knocking weapons away, drawing attention. She moved with him, the two of them together, not fighting to win, just fighting to stay whole. She reached out and light poured from her hands, not fire, not rage, but something pure, something made of memory and choice. Walls shook, the lights burst, the air cracked. The soldiers fell back, blinded by a force they could not name. The storm ended. They stood side by side, breath heavy, eyes locked. You should have stayed on the ship, he said through broken laughter. You should have known I would not, she replied, without apology. He smiled and took her hand in his. You are not mine, he said, but I love you as if you were made for this moment. She squeezed his hand tighter. I was made for something, but I chose this. I chose you. The ship floated in silence above a dead moon, its hull scorched, its lights flickering like tired stars. Inside the control room, Leah stood still, watching the horizon through a cracked window, her fingers pressed against the glass, her breath steady behind her. The man sat in silence, his shoulder wrapped, his face bruised, but his heart still unbroken. They had escaped again, but something felt different this time, not like running, more like arriving. The Empire ship had gone silent, the crew left in confusion, unable to process what they had witnessed. Not a weapon, not a soldier, not a slave, just a girl who refused to be anything but free. Leah turned slowly, her voice soft. They will keep coming. He nodded once, without fear. Then we keep choosing. She walked closer and sat beside him, their shoulders touching, their hands resting between them, palms brushing without needing to hold. There is a planet in the next system, he said. No colonies, no empire, no signals, just air, water, and silence. She leaned her head back against the wall, her eyes closed. Do you think we can build something there, something real? He looked at her, not with hope, but with belief. We already started now, we give it roots. The next day they landed on the quiet world, a green sphere wrapped in mist, with tall trees and blue rivers that moved without rush. No fences, no names, no paths, just space to breathe and ground to remember. They built slowly, not with machines but with hands, wood from fallen trees, stone from soft hills, simple tools made from scratch. The first shelter had no doors, just fabric for shade and warmth. The fire was small, the night's quiet end. They did not speak of the past unless the stars asked for it. Leah learned how to plant seeds and watch them grow, how to build walls that did not trap, how to carry water with a woven basket made from forest vines. He taught her songs from earth, songs with strange words and soft rhythms that made her laugh when she tried to sing them. She gave him new words from her dreams, made up sounds that became names for the trees and the winds and the stars. They could now call their own. They were not hiding, they were living. One the evening she sat near the fire, her fingers drawing shapes in the dirt. She looked up at him with eyes that glowed softly, not with power, not with danger, but with warmth. Do you think they will ever stop looking for me? He placed a bowl of warm food beside her, then sat on the ground across from her. Maybe they will stop when they forget what they wanted, or maybe they will stop when they see they cannot reach what lives outside controls. She thought about that, then smiled. I used to think I was built to obey, to be what they needed. Now I know I can be what I choose, and I choose this. Weeks passed, and the silence of the forest became their rhythm. Birds in the morning, rivers in the afternoon, stars at night. No alarms, no chimes, no metal voices, or metal voices, only breath and light and time. One morning she woke before sunrise and walked to the river alone, her bare feet pressing into the cool earth. She stood by the water and watched her reflection change with the wind, with the movement of the leaves. Her face was still the same, silver and soft, but her eyes looked back, like they belonged to someone. She reached down, picked up a stone, and held it close. Then she whispered to the air, I forgive who I wasn't, I thank who I am. She threw the stone gently into the water and turned back to the shelter. Later that day they stood on a hill, overlooking the valley, the wind pulling at their clothes, the sun low behind them. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a ring made from tree bark and copper wire twisted together. With care he held it out in his hand. Without a word she looked at it, then at him, then placed her fingers over his ear. She said before he could ask anything, yes to all of it. Yes to you. They did not wear special clothes or speak sacred vows. They did not gather people or follow tradition. They stood by the fire, held hands, and promised with silence to stay, to grow, to be human in a world that never taught them how, and that was an effort. Night they sat under the stars, watching the sky shift above them. She rested her head on his shoulder and closed her eyes. Do you still dream? He asked softly. Only when I forget where I am, she said. And where are you now? Home. Far above the Empire still moved, searching, still believing she was missing property, still calling her a number, still looking for a tool that could open galaxies. But she was not a tool. She was not missing, she was found. She had chosen not to rule, not to run, not to destroy. She had chosen to live. She had chosen life. She had chosen to be human.